So I'm late on this trend, but for about a year now I wanted to add my 2 cents to the whole Miraculous Ladybug warfare. A few years ago I wanted nothing to do with it because it looked girly and weird, but after somebody showed me one of those Miraculous Ladybug out of context videos, it made me a bit curious, so I sat down, opened Disney Plus, and almost immediately fell in love with it. The show and its characters had this certain type of charm that drew me in for seasons to come. We all know the controversy and hate surrounding this show, but if you actually sit down and turn it on, you'll most likely have a good time. Unless you're watching one of those episodes, of course, but like 7 times out of 10. But even though I love this show, I still think it could have been a lot more than it actually was. So that's why I decided I'm going to be rewriting it as well. But I'm not just talking about sharing my ideas on what I would do for each season, I'm talking about episode to episode, scene to scene, line to line. I'll basically be writing a script for 6 seasons worth of show. Obviously, that's a lot, and I'm currently in the middle of rewatching every episode of it so I can take notes on what I want to change and take out. So for now, I'm just going to be doing the redesigns, because yes, they get the job done, but they're also pretty boring. So, real quick, 2 things. When I was doing the coloring part of this, something went wrong and the color came out all weird in the recording and I couldn't fix it. I fixed the problem for the other designs, so ignore the part when Ladybug gets colored in. I'll show what it really looks like after I finish. Also, I was still kind of finding my character design style as I was doing this and only really found it after I finished Marinette, so looking back on it, I realized that I wasn't happy with Marinette's redesign. So I took her out of this video and will be redoing her in part 2 because I know I can just do better. Alright, so looking at Ladybug's outfit in the show, there isn't too much to say about it, and that's the problem. It completely lacks in anything interesting or original, but I think what bothers me the most is the fact that it has no shape. If I was Ladybug, I would be super uncomfortable knowing all of Paris knows exactly what my body is shaped like. It's very rare for a main character to have the most boring outfit out of the entire cast, but I guess this means I just have a lot more freedom when it comes to my redesign. First of all, I wanted it to be somewhat accurate to Ladybug anatomy. Looking at pictures, you can see that the body is black while the wing guard things are red with the spots, so I decided she would have a skin-tight suit like in the original, but with a red jacket to match actual Ladybugs. Next, I gave her a belt to hold her yo-yo and any lucky charm she might need to carry around, because it's a bit unpractical for her to use her yo-yo string as her belt. When I drew the gloves and the boots, I planned for them to be one color, but ended up adding each of the other color to push the red and black theme a little bit more. I had a hard time with the hair. I got it down fast in the video, but there's a lot of unused footage of me just doing something. After I got a reference from, I honestly don't remember where, I nailed it pretty quick. I wanted to go with buns, and I thought about doing top buns because pretty much everyone who gives Ladybug buns gives her top buns, but I wanted to do bottom buns because I think it makes her look more mature and responsible, and that fits with her personality as Ladybug more. I don't have much to say on the final coloring except I made her hair black at first, but decided to turn it blue like the original to break up the colors a little. I know it's really dark and doesn't make that much of a difference, but I like it and won't change it. Now I'm going to tell you some of my ideas for Marinette in my rewrite. The first thing I knew I needed to do was give her a little more struggle, and I know some people are going to say she does have a lot of struggle since she needs to balance her school, family, and social life with her hero work, and to that I say Adrian has it so much worse. Not only does he have to keep up with everything Marinette does, but he also needs to balance fencing, piano, and Chinese lessons. And also his modeling work and the fact that he's almost always being watched by Natalie or the gorilla. It's absolutely miraculous that he's able to disappear for minutes to hours at a time and no one catches him. And he did this from day one too, and nobody talks about it, and I feel like they should, but we need to get back to Marinette. Her life seems pretty much perfect, and you really need to look to find out what her Season 1 struggles were. In Season 1, she had trouble standing up for herself and maybe was a little shy. Those things were pretty much resolved in the Origins episodes, so not much there. In my rewrite, Marinette will suffer from social anxiety. She'll have trouble making friends, talking to people, and standing up to Chloe, and sometimes just functioning properly at school. This will also be a better explanation to why she just can't tell Adrian her feelings. She can't talk with the girl she sits next to in school at first. She isn't going to talk to her crush. In my show, I plan for Alia to befriend Marinette first, and they start hanging out. Throughout the story, Alia will try to nudge her out of her comfort zone, but will also swoop in to save her from situations that are just too much. With Alia's help, Marinette slowly begins to befriend more and more of her classmates and becomes more confident, dreaming of the day she'll confess her love to Adrian. Now the next question is, how does Ladybug deal with the social anxiety Marinette has? And the answer is, she doesn't really. In the rewrite, Marinette sees herself and Ladybug as two completely separate people. So when she turns into Ladybug, her fears and worries fade mostly away because she isn't Marinette, the quiet, silent teenager. She's Ladybug, the strong, confident superhero saving Paris every other week. Although her anxiety isn't just gone, it does flare up once in a while as Ladybug, but for the most part, becoming Ladybug is the only kind of escape she has from the mental disorder that is eating away at her. Other than that, the only main change I made was make her not a creep, so I think that's all for now. I'm ready to move on to our next character. Also, did you notice that I totally forgot her earrings? So up next, I had to do Queen Bee, and before we get into it, yes, the redemption arc will happen. There aren't too many episodes that I think I will have her in just because I don't think they need her too much, but I am planning to write a few original episodes so she and others can get more spotlight time. Moving to her design, a lot of people say she has one of the best designs in the show, and I do agree a bit, but it is still kind of boring and unoriginal, and still with no shape. Now in the show, when people uses somebody else's Miraculous, they always get a different costume, so that means that the outfit you get when you transform is either based off of your personality or is something you come up yourself before you transform. So I always thought it was weird that Chloe of all people had such a plain costume. Also, just saying real quick, isn't it weird that the two characters that are into fashion have the worst costumes in the show? Just pointing it out. So starting with Queen Bee, I really didn't know what I wanted to do and kind of just jumped in head first. All I knew is that I wanted her to have a jacket like Ladybug's, and it had to be fluffy to match real bees. I knew her outfit had to really stand out and look a bit overwhelming, so I just started adding stuff that looked good and on theme. Now, this is the part where I become a bit of a hypocrite, so I hate it when people give female superheroes high heels. It would just make their jobs harder, and it's mostly for the male viewers. But I did give Queen Bee heels because she might fight better in them, and because of course she would have high heels. Now the next thing I gave her has to do with her powers. Instead of a magical stinger forming around her hand, I wanted it to materialize on the inside of her wrist, making it look like it's coming out of her arm. I think it turned out pretty well and makes her whole character look a little more realistic. I feel like in the rewrite, whenever she needs to use her stinger, like in the show, when it materializes around her hand, it will materialize from her wrist, giving off the illusion that it's coming out from there. Her hair was pretty hard for me to do. I knew what I wanted, but I just had trouble putting it onto the canvas. Her original hair was kind of twisted around, and I wanted to do that but a little different. It took me a few tries, but I like how the way it came out. I also put her Miraculous at the base of her ponytail, and it kind of looks like a little crown, which I think is cool and is on character. When it came to the coloring, unlike Ladybug, I thought I needed a third color to kind of even out the other main two. So I added white with the yellow and black. So now about Queen Bee in my rewrite. Most of the changes are with Chloe, and I'll talk about them when I get to her next, but with Queen Bee, there aren't too many changes besides the way she's used. I want her to be used more, not a lot, but more, and like I said earlier, there will be original episodes made by me with her in them. I don't know what these episodes will really be like yet, as I'll probably work on those episodes after I finish all the other original ones, but right now I think they will follow the lines of Chloe's trying to become a better person but is having trouble with something, a villain appears and Ladybug asks for her help. As they fight, something happens to help her realize what she was doing wrong, and when she turns back into Chloe again, she uses her newfound information to continue to grow as a person. I'm sure after I start to do the actual writing, everything will come together like it usually does, That's all I have to really say about Queen Bee, so for now let's move on to her not-so-secret alter ego. So I have a question. Have you ever seen Chloe's original design? Have you ever noticed how much better it looks? I don't know what went on in the drawing room, but someone made a mistake. The original didn't look cluttered like she does now. It looked a lot more aesthetically pleasing, and it fit her character a hell of a lot better. The outfit Chloe has now is just so random, like they just threw a bunch of stuff together and didn't check to make sure it looked good. She's supposed to be a rich, bratty girl who gets whatever she wants because her father is the mayor and can never tell her no. She always gets the best of the best, but you can't see that here because her outfit is so shitty looking. Also, quick pause right here. One random thing. Why is her jacket so shiny? Is it leather? Does yellow leather exist? That's the only reason I can really come up with. The only thing that fits her are her sunglasses and blonde hair, so for my design, I did go off her. Starting with her hair, I wanted to merge the two, making it look rich and hard to maintain like she claims in the show. You can't see it too well from this angle, I don't think, but on the sides of her head are two braids leading up to her half down, half up ponytail, just to add a bit of spice. I already had a little bit of an idea on what I wanted her outfit to be. Of course it would break school dress code, but no one can stop her, so I got the exposed shoulders on with short shorts. Like with the original, I knew she had to have her white jacket and needed plenty of accessories. So I went with a bow theme, putting them anywhere I think I could get away with. I went with a whole different color palette than the one in the show, sticking to the white but replacing the yellow with light blue and black. In the end, I kind of accidentally made her look like a showgirl who owns a pony, but that actually fits, and just because we haven't seen it yet doesn't mean Chloe doesn't have a pony in the actual show. And I just want to take this moment to say that Chloe and Queen Bee are by far my favorite designs. I usually can't make up really good designs on the spot, but these two just came so naturally, and I'm really proud of them. So remember that one episode where Adrian tells her she needs to be nicer to people, so she tries, only for when the runtime's up to go back to her old self, not learning anything, and the other characters just saying, well, I guess you can't change, even though they found a way that could help her change and just never tried it again, or even anything to help her again? I think she was making genuine progress before the time was down, giving her an excuse to revert back. This is kind of disappointing on Ladybug's part because in this episode, Chloe literally saved her life. But Marinette will later go on to say she has no redeeming qualities and will always be a bully. But then again, the main characters are children, and being someone's therapist for anger management isn't something they'll be equipped for. But then again, this show was written by adults made for kids to learn important lessons, but how are we supposed to learn these lessons when the characters don't learn them? I can keep going, but I won't. This episode was a waste of time, but now that I said that, I did really love this episode because it was super funny. Anyways, I just realized I ranted about this one episode and didn't even tell you guys why yet, so in my remake, I'm going to have it play out somewhat the same, but in the end, she realizes things are much better when she's nice to people, and Adrian says if she wants to still be his friend, she needs to keep working at it. She then tries to become a better person, sometimes falling back on her old ways, but always getting back onto the right path. She still has her quick Chloe comebacks and commentary that can sound pretty mean sometimes, but she's still just a kid and has her whole rest of her life to grow and improve. Maybe she'll also start hanging out with the class sometime later and have fun and feel kind of like a normal girl. Now that I'm thinking about it, there should probably be an episode where Marinette learns about Chloe's childhood and realizes that things run deeper than they seem. It would probably play out as Chloe's mom comes around again and she feels pressure to act like her again to impress her. This will cause problems at school and everybody will turn on her and she will miss and realize how important the relationships she made were to her, but wouldn't really know how to fix it. Marinette will think she's just going back to her old ways until she somehow figures out what happened and helps her through it. This episode will probably end with Chloe apologizing to the people she hurt and standing up to her mom for the very first time. Marinette will say sorry for not helping her when she obviously needed it, and because Marinette needs to start taking responsibility for her own actions. The only other thing I have to say about Chloe in my rewrite is that she will genuinely be friends with and care for Sabrina, though she'll still push her around and treat her a bit like a servant, but in the rewrite you'll see their friendship grow and become better and healthier, with Sabrina learning how to be her own person and Chloe's friend at the very same time. But that's all I have for Chloe, so let's move on to our last character, Alia. Alia's show design is pretty solid. It fits together, the colors match, and it's not crowded. I don't really have any problems with this design, except for her weird explosion looking shoes. But for this, it's more of a reimagining than a redesign. So, like with Chloe's hair, I knew what I wanted, but I couldn't for the life of me put it on paper. In my head, I wanted her to have this certain aesthetic, but I couldn't remember the name of it, so I couldn't look up a reference photo. Even though she's a reporter, I wanted her to have this old-timey detective look. But I also had the movie The Newsies in mind, but I don't know how much that ended up influencing the finishing design. I know she would want to look as professional as possible, so I gave her the classic white shirt with black tie. I feel like she would be a fan of old mystery shows, and that's why she has the brown jacket with the fluff, to kind of imitate the old detective characters in the shows. Other than that, I just gave her a normal skirt, boots, and her glasses. But when we get to the coloring, you'll see that I made her glasses red tinted just to add a little more spice. This design is pretty simple, but the last thing I added was this little charm bracelet, which doesn't really suit her outfit style, but the story behind it is that after she and Marinette became friends, Marinette decided to make friendship bracelets for both of them, and they decided to wear them every day together. The colors were pretty easy, I just had to do some swapping around with the browns, but it all came out really nice. Even though I had little issue with her original design, I did end up changing pretty much everything with her, so I wanted to make sure she had something of her old design left, so I decided to add her hair fade to make it look like she dyed it. I really love how she came out and think she's my second favorite of the redesigns so far. I don't have much to say on her character in my rewrite right now because I already said what I wanted to about her when I was talking about her and Marinette's friendship. Nothing too much will change about her, and she'll pretty much be the same, as there isn't really much that needs to be changed. Overall, I think she and her boyfriend Nino are probably the two most solid characters in the show, so I don't really see myself changing them very much. This is the end of my first redesign video, but it feels like something is missing, like a character I didn't do. Alia's superhero design is missing, and well, that's because in the rewrite, she doesn't get the Fox Miraculous in the episode I think is pronounced the Sapides. I can't say what will happen just yet, but let's just say I have some big ideas for the Fox Miraculous. But for now, this is the end of the first Miraculous redesigns. The other characters will be created very soon, and if you like what I have going on, make sure to stick around and help out a brand new channel. Also, since I'm in a pretty early stage of rewriting, if you have any ideas on what I can do, feel free to tell me. If I end up using your idea, you'll get a little shout out in the episode your idea shows up in. I'll see you hopefully soon, but for now, have a good day and God bless.